there's nothing super particular we're wanting to talk about. Just kind of how async JavaScript works, how to deal with callbacks and promises. So I'm gonna get a JavaScript challenge that I made last year and go through that. Let's see. I can find it. Okay. So let's just take a look at what we want to actually do. Um, the object here is to create an index that displays a bunch of hogs and their attributes. They'll each have a checkbox based on the greased attribute, whether that's true or false. We'll have a form that can create new hogs and render that onto the page. And then each hog should have a delete button. And the checkbox, I should be able to check and uncheck, and it will persist that to the database. So we've got all of our hog data in a DB JSON file, I believe. We can get access to that through this. And then we've got a folder of hog images. Cool. So this is going to be our API. Each of these is one hog. And on this page, I want them all to show up.
That API,
What's up?
that API is like your internal server.
Yeah. So JSON server just lets me spin up a local server that supports basic sort of REST type actions where like I can go to hog/3 and that would just give me this hog. And then I can post to hogs and that would create a new hog. Or I can send it like a delete request or things like that. It just does like the basic sort of interactions you'd expect with like CRUD.
Even though the file is saved locally.
Yep.
Okay.
Let's see. It basically treats this file almost like a SQLite database, but it's a JSON file instead.
Okay.
Let's see. So we could use this. We don't necessarily have to, but let's see. In here, we've got a hog container. So we want to place our hogs into this. So let's see. I guess the first thing I want to do is just grab my hog information so I can append it to the page. I'll use fetch because I prefer that over jQuery. And I'll just copy this URL. So that should get me the hog information.
Do we need to pass in like a second argument?
You rarely do for a GET request.
Except
Oh, go ahead.
except for when we had a lab.
Yeah. So if the server requires certain things in the headers, then yes, then we need to go like this and then say headers and give it some kind of object for the headers. But with JSON server that I'm using, it's very basic. There's no like auth or anything like that set up, and no like specifications of things that should be in the headers. Unless you do a post request, then there's a little bit of basic stuff that we'll have to add, but we'll get to it. As we remember, when I just do fetch, I get back a promise, which is not super useful to me. So what do I do with whatever this returns? This should be a pretty common pattern. Anytime you use fetch, something will come after. Exim, yeah, dot then. This basically returns a promise. And so if I call dot then on the promise, then I can go into here and I have a response from the server. And now I need to call that JSON on that response. Let's see. As we see here, the response has a body. It's a readable stream. So anytime we see readable stream, we know we need to call .json to convert the readable stream. Basically, it reads the readable stream. Just for spacing reasons, I'm just going to move this down here. You're allowed to do this on separate lines.
Is it supposed to be RSP and RES?
Oh, nope. Thank you. And it can be anything. It's just assuming like whatever is passed in, which automatically it passes in the response.
So it's like a variable.
Yep, exactly. Let's see. A lot of times I'll do this just so that I remember exactly like what that is. Here, once I've read it, I usually just call it data. So same thing here, data. And now when I have the data, I've got to actually do some stuff with it. If I wanted to be more specific, I could actually just say, because what is my data? My data is, let's paste this in here. My data is this, which is an array of like Hog objects. I could say this is my hogs. Now I want to do something with these. For now, I'm going to say hogs dot for each. And I'm going to do something with each hog. I have this hog.js file, which is getting imported second. Let's see. Yeah. So in here, I could define my hog class. So let's see what we want to do with that. We've got in our hog JSON. I'm just going to copy and paste one. So in here, I can put a constructor so that basically it acts like an initializer. And I'll go ahead and start putting these attributes. So ID, name, specialty, increase, weight, metal. It's not one-to-one. I'm just saying wait for this instead of this whole long key name. Image. Now, as part of the constructor, I'm just going to take those arguments and assign them.
No one created a way to do this faster. This part.
I think there is a way. I can't remember exactly what it is. So I'm just going to do this, but I think there's a way. What? That's wrong. This metal equals metal. This dot image equals image. Okay. So let's see. We'll create a hog with all these attributes. And then I think there's going to be more methods that hogs can do. So we'll have extra things in here because we're probably going to want to be able to render the hog onto the page. we'll probably want to be able to call delete on hogs. From the instructions, we were supposed to be able to toggle their whether or not they were greased. So we'll say grease toggle. Let's see. That's probably all we'll need for now. So for each hog, we'll go ahead and create a new one. So we can say new hog. And I have to pass it the arguments. So ID, name. No, these aren't things that we can just do though. That's all part of my hog data. So I need to say like, let's do this. So when we have one of these things, let's store this. So temp1 is not this thing. The easiest thing to do for this.
There's no like mass assignment.
There would be, but some of these key names are really unwieldy and I don't want to use them. Like weight as a ratio of hog to LG, whatever. It's a ridiculous key name. I just want it to be weight. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to grab some of the things out of here directly. So I'm going to use some destructuring, which basically just means I can go const, and then I can give, I can create an object that is going to have ID, name, specialty, greased, image. So these are like all the one-to-one that I actually want. So ID, name, specialty, greased, skipping weight, skipping metal. Anyway, okay, specialty, greased, image, and then and if I just set this const equal to temp1, then what that actually does is it pulls these attributes out and assigns them each to these variables. So now I can just say like ID, name, specialty. So now I just have to grab this, so I could just say weight equals temp1, this thing. And then I can say metal equals 1. That's metal achieved. And we'll use destructuring, and we'll talk about destructuring more when we're working with React. But it's just a handy way to like take an object and then just pull out some const variables from the object's attributes. As long as these variables are the same names as the attributes themselves. So I'll take this, bring it back here. That's not what I want. Hog. That's the thing that I'm working with. And I'll say const weights equals hog. And then const metal highest metal achieved. Now I can just pass these in. So new hog is going to have the ID, the name, the specialty, grease, image. I think the order actually matters. So let's ID, name, specialty, grease, weight. Metal image. The order wouldn't matter if I set them up as keys, but I just set it up as regular variables. Okay, so I'm creating new hogs. What happens when I create a hog object? What do I want to actually do? So I don't want to forget like my end goal here with this fetch.
Are you returning it or you're appending it to the page?
Yeah, I want to append it to the page, exactly. So let's actually just put that in the constructor, where like the final thing it's going to do is it's just going to say this dot render. So now I have to figure out how to render it. Let's see. So let's grab that container that they're going to go in. Let me see. Where is it? Index pod container. So I've got the container. Now let's create a new div that we can put the hog in. So we'll say, I'm going to create some little cards that the hogs will go in. So I'll say hog card, and there are multiple ways you can do this, but I'm just going to create elements and then append that element as a child to the hog container. You could easily say like a dot inner HTML equals if ID equals, and then say like hog card, something like that. That would also work. I'm going to do it like this, just so you kind of see it different ways. So hog card dot class. You can't say just dot class because in JavaScript it doesn't really know what that is with the elements, because dot class is often like a thing. So they specify that it's .class list to be able to like add a class to an element. So I'll say hog card for the class. Hog card.id. Let's see. This.id. We'll need that later. Basically, I wanted so that each card is going to have the hog's ID associated with it, which comes in handy a lot of times.
Morgan, could you explain what you did on line 24?
Yeah, I just added this as like a class for this element. So this div, basically all that did was it created like this, and then when I do this thing, it goes ahead and just says like class equals hog card. So it's just a method you can call on
So you're
HTML.
creating the HTML through JavaScript.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of times I like to use inner HTML to do this, so I can just write the HTML. But there's multiple ways it can be done. So in this case, I'm just gonna call these methods on the HTML elements and just add the attributes to it this way. Let's see, I'm gonna kind of mix and match. So I'm gonna say hog card dot HTML equals, and I'll put something in here. What else do I need to do? Once I figured out what goes in there, what's up?
Sorry for all the questions. How do you hog card to the container?
Yeah, that's actually what I was getting to just now. So perfect. Hog container dot append child hog card. So once I figured out what goes in there, I'll just append it to the hog container as a child. And then I'm going to add an event listener to it. I find that when you're in JavaScript, for me, it's easier to add event listeners using this method. So hogcard dot add event listener, and so you could create like delete buttons, but I'm just going to make it so that when you click a card, it'll just delete it. So click is the type of listener. And then when you click something, it creates an event. This right here is my callback method for the event listener. So the first argument is the type of event listener, the type of event. Second argument is a callback method. So the thing that should happen when the event is triggered. So we'll say like delete hog. That's basically what's going to happen there. Let's see. And we'll need some other event listener for the toggle for grease. We'll figure that out in a minute. So let's see. we got to create the hog card. So let's say we'll start off with like an H2. And we can go is that name. We want the image, so this dot image. And then specialty is going to be this dot specialty. We'll say the highest weight achieved, so or highest metal achieved. This dot metal. And let's see. Weight. This dot weight. Greased. And then here we need a checkbox. We'll see if we can figure that out in a minute. And then actually, I think we will do a delete button instead of a instead of just deleting by clicking the hog. So button. We'll give that button a class. Delete. And then let's leave it at that for now. So at this point, if I get rid of this thing, we should have some hogs rendering to the page. Because we gave it some inner HTML and then we appended it as a child. Let's go back here. Awesome. Now we have all of our hogs. And they have delete buttons that do nothing. And they don't tell us whether they're greased or not. Does anybody know how to make a checkbox? Nothing?
Type.
All right. What's up?
Input type equals checkbox.
So I go input type equals checkbox.
We probably want a name or and a value. I don't know if we need that.
So we've got checkboxes. We want it to be auto-checked if it's greased And what is happening right now? For some reason, when I silenced a call, it decided to start playing Google Music. I don't know. So I don't think you guys could hear it, but it was really weird. Okay, so the way you can determine if it's checked or not, I believe I can say like just like checked right here. And now they're all checked. So I only want it checked if the hog is greased. So I have to figure out what to put here, whether it's checked or just nothing, basically. Let's see. Let's do this. Const checked equals this dot greased. If it's greased, then it's going to equal this checked string. Otherwise, it's going to equal a blank string. And I'll just put that in here. That seems to have worked. Let's see. So it's just a quick little ternary at the beginning, creating this variable, which is either this or this. I just put that in. So let's work on getting our event listener working. Right now, it's going to happen anytime a hog card is clicked. So once a hog card is clicked, we kind of have to determine, did they just click the hog card or did they click the delete button? So let's say if we can get that information from E, which is the event. Let's actually put a debugger in here. So when I click a card, theoretically we'd get into a debugger. It seems like we're not. Interesting. Oh, did I not refresh? What's happening? For some reason, some of the times I'm refreshing, it's not working. Oh, it's a race condition. So this is actually bad because when I loaded these up, I loaded index first and then I loaded hog, which means this fetch happens right away before it even creates this hog class. And I'm trying to use that hog class in the results of the fetch. The reason it works sometimes and not other times is because it totally depends on how fast the fetch happens, if it's already gone and defined this or not. So there's multiple ways I can fix this. I can say don't fetch until the page is loaded. That still might not help a ton, but it probably would.
You just switch the order?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Now it should work every time. Awesome. Okay, so now if I could click one, I'm in my debugger, console E, that's the event. It's got all this stuff. Let's see. What I care about, I think, is the target. E dot target tells me I just clicked on that div. Now, if I get out of this and I click specifically on the delete button, it's still within the div, so the event listener grabbed it. Try e.target again. But I have a different target because I clicked something very specific. So if I look at the class of the target and it's delete, then I know that I hit the delete button. So I can go back here.
Why wouldn't you just set up that event listener on the delete button itself?
You can. The way I'm going to do this is that I only need one event listener, and it can do multiple different actions depending on what exactly I clicked.
Okay.
I've seen it done both ways. So yeah, I could add the event listener directly to that delete button. And I wouldn't have to do this. But the way I have it now, I need to say like if e.target.class name I can say dot includes delete. I think I could also just say if it equals delete. And then I'll say this dot delete. And I'm just going to pass it that event for reasons that we'll talk about. If e.target, because now we're going to do something with the toggle. So we'll say toggle this dot toggle grease toggle, that's what it is. So let's try this. Let's give this input a class name. Toggle. Now, theoretically, I should be logging perfect. These different methods are being called now, depending on which thing I click. So it just checks the class name from one event listener rather than multiple. I think, I'm not sure if this is true, but I've heard adding too many event listeners can like bog down the browser, which is why sometimes people will add like one event listener and then based on the event, you can figure out like the actual thing that someone clicked and then decide what to do. I don't know if that's totally true, but in any case, it does let me organize this. So when someone clicks, here's all the things that happen based on clicks, depending on what they clicked, that sort of thing. So let's see. When someone clicks grease toggle, we probably want to actually do some things. We'll need to fetch. And then same with delete, we'll need to delete the hog. So let's see. If you have E, E.target is this button. Based on this is all the information I have. I have no way of knowing which hog to delete. So I need to say like E.target dot parent element. And that's got the ID. So if I go to like this one, I'll get this other ID. So I'm going to do that to grab the ID. There are other ways we could do this. I could have done something called a data ID, or a data, what do you call it? It's an HTML attribute that, yeah, it is data ID. So I could say like, when I create the delete button, data ID could be this ID. And you can do data anything. So I could say like data something else.
Can that be manipulated on HTML tags?
I think the answer is yes. I'm not totally sure I understand your question.
Meaning, can a user try to delete the wrong thing?
Like if they went into here, then they can change whatever they want. So this could be like,
Since we're deleting, oh, you're saying they could do it that way anyway.
yeah. But we've got these data ID things. So if I click delete, go to console, I think I can go like E dot target dot data set. And I have these keys and values. So I can say dataset dot ID is one, dataset dot something else. It looks like it didn't carry over like my capitalization. I get something. So if I wanted, I can give it that data ID, so the delete button itself sends it in the event. I don't actually need to do that because its parent has the ID, just how I want it already. So now I need to fetch same place I went before. And then I need that ID. This will require a second object, if only to say method is delete. I believe I'll also need a headers property. In the headers, this is basically a standard thing where you'll specify the content type. Application/JSON. I'm not totally sure if I need that. Let's see if I can get away with not doing it. So when I delete, this still returns a promise, so I'll say .then. I don't really care what I get back, so I'm just gonna do an anonymous function. And now I need to actually grab the e.target parent elements. And I can just say .remove. When I'm finished deleting it, I want to delete that div from the page. It has this ID. So let's refresh, get rid of trouble. That seems to work. I'm going to refresh again, make sure it's still gone. Awesome. So this worked. We didn't need any headers. Let's fix the grease toggle so that will actually work. So we'll say same thing here. I guess if we wanted, we could actually grab this, like put it in here. I don't know, I'm just gonna leave it. So fetch to the same place. Method, it's gonna be a patch for editing. Need a body. And the body should just need greased something. It's gonna be true or false. Let's do this for now. Our server doesn't know how to interpret this because this is a JavaScript object. So I need to turn it into JSON, which you do with json.stringify. I've wrapped this object in a json.stringify method, which will just convert this into a string in JSON format.
What's the difference between stringify and parse?
Parse, I think, will take a string and parse it into an object.
Oh, I see. And this
And
is
then so this is the opposite,
the
basically.
opposite of that. Okay.
Let's see. So this, let's see, if I try to check that, 404 not found. Interesting. Looks like it didn't try to go. Did I forget something? Strange. Seems like it's ignoring this ID. Interesting. So e.target.parent.element.id is not getting what I want. E.target is this. Parent elements is that. Oh, because it's inside a p tag. So I need to do .parent element again. Because in here, the parent of the input is actually this p tag. So the more messy this gets, the more likely I am to just start doing a data ID in here. But I'm still not going to right now. But that's like why you choose one way over another. Is like, how complicated is it to figure out the ID? And can I simplify it by just throwing it straight into the element? Okay, so I'll refresh. Not getting the 404 error. I haven't fetched yet. Okay. Okay, so I can check, uncheck. I'm not getting an error in the console. Let's refresh. Let's check the box. Refresh again. It's not persisting. So something's wrong. It's doing a bunch of 304 on my server, it looks like. Yeah. Well, interesting. We got a lot of 200s. Let's see. Interesting. But it's not persisting. So probably,
Do you have to put a header in?
yeah, probably need to do a header. With some APIs, you'll get warnings back. And maybe I am, I'm just not handling any kind of warnings. But I think with JSON server, it actually doesn't tell you anything's wrong. It's just not working. Headers. This is one thing really common. If you forget an S here, the error messages are not very helpful, and it takes a long time to figure out what's wrong. So I actually prefer to go into like the MDN using fetch and just copy from here, because that's the one way you can, because I always have a typo either in headers or somewhere in here, and it's always very hard to figure out what went wrong. So if I just copy from the documentation, then that never happens. So let's refresh this page. Persisting. Now it's not going to persist when I do this. Anybody remember why that is?
Well, when you uncheck it,
Yeah,
You're only ever setting grease to true.
yeah, good call. So instead of true, I need to actually figure something else out here. Since it's a toggle, I think we can do, let's see. Let's put this back. Let's do here another debugger. Go e.target is the input itself. Not checked. It's false. Now if I check it, and it's true this time, I can just throw that straight in there. I don't need this. I'm in JavaScript land here, not a string. Okay, so rid of this. Awesome. Now we know it's persisting. And then I can delete it, and that works too.
could you go back to the code? Yeah. Could you explain what you did, eTarget.checked?
Yeah, so I'm looking at the event that happens from the click. So the click event has information about what was clicked, which is the target, which is this element. So if I have this element, I can call .checked, and it will tell me true or false whether it's been checked or not.
Checked is a HTML attribute?
Yep.
Okay.
Which we were setting earlier with like this ternary. But then it gets changed automatically when someone checks it. So I don't need to like change that myself. Now if I inspect this again, interesting. It still shows checked here, which is odd. But if I have the actual thing in the console and call checked on it, it'll tell me the truth, whether it's checked or not.
What does it mean next to it, equals 0?
Maybe that's why it's, or, I don't know what that is exactly. Never looked at that before. The last selected DOM node index. So I guess in here, I grab this, inspect, it changes it to that one.
Oh, I see.
Not totally sure the purpose there, but okay. So the only thing I'm really missing now is being able to create a new hog from the form, I believe. going to go back to my index.h or index.js, and I'm just going to add it in here. So we'll say like documents dot query selector, and I'm just grabbing that form. There's only one form on the page, so I can just say, I think I can just do that, right? Add listener. So when the form is submitted, I'll add hog. So I'll define that. I want to prevent the page from refreshing. And some kind of fetch. Make sure I can get here. Perfect. So my fetch is going to be this. Options are going to be method post. Grab those headers again. Now I need body. This is going to need JSON.stringify.
So it's basically every time we persist to the database, we have to do JSON.stringify?
Yeah. Just converts the JavaScript information we have into JSON. So here I want like all the information about the hog from the form. So to simplify things, I'm just going to say data. I think it's, yeah. So I'm just going to do that. This can actually just be one line. Let's define my data outside of the fetch. So data. Have a name. And it's going to have a specialty. Priest. Now I need to start copying this stuff again, because that's what my database expects. So achieved. And image. So these are all going to be things I grabbed from the event. So e.target selects the form itself. Let's see, what do I want? Name, spec, old, let's see, Bob's specialty is building. Is the gold medal. His weight is 0.5 refrigerators. Probably insulting calling him a pig. But do that. Copy image address. And he's greased. Submit. E.target. E.target.name. So that's going to find the input with the name. So now I can say like dot value, and I get Bob. E.target dot metal. So that's going to be dot value. Now, if I want to stop guessing, I can go and actually look at the form. It's going to be name, specialty, metal, weight, image. And then greased. And I just tag on dot value to see what someone actually filled in. Oops, copy, paste. And this is just IMG, right? Yeah. Okay. When I'm done fetching, I then want to create a new hog on the page. So this is where I can do this thing again. I could probably do like I need to get information from my server, so I have the ID. I think I'm just going to grab this stuff. And when I create a new hog, we already had it set up so that it will render it to the page. So theoretically, this will work. Let's see. Refresh. Something's wrong. $22. I think I'm forgetting commas. Cool. Forgot about that. Continue. Not quite working. close. Let's get rid of that. Wonder what the problem is.
Why is it coming back undefined?
Not sure. Let's see. I'm figuring it probably didn't create it properly in the database. Why that is, I'm not totally sure. Console. Why is this undefined? Oh, I forgot to get rid of that debugger. Okay, so that looks good. Seems like what we want.
Is it
Oh, it's because I put it. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, is it because when you put it in data as your only key and you're
Yeah.
trying to ask for name specialty?
Exactly. It's because I wrapped this in an object. If I just stitch on stringified data itself, then I get all these proper keys. So good call there. So if I get rid of this, save, it's not what I want. Okay. Now if I put these in, still not quite right. Delete, delete, delete. I think we're closer. I want to look at the JSON server now. No, we're getting stuff. It's just the image not working.
Is it image or image URL?
It's because I didn't actually get a URL. There we go. That's what I want. Where is it? Delete. Delete. Wait, what? One of the times it worked. It just didn't get the image. That's interesting. So when I refresh, it comes up. The image is way too big. So it messes up the card. But It'll show up. It's not there now, obviously. Building. It's not working quite right. It's not appending it to the page. If I refresh though, it is submitting to the database and it pulls it back down. So let's see. I want a small picture. I don't know if it's possible. This is more reasonable. We have to figure out why it's not appending properly though. Delete. Okay, so clearly this isn't working. We must not be getting back the data that I think we're getting back. Oh, it's the whole response, of course. I'm skipping a step. Dot then hog. Now it should work. Get rid of these. Awesome. So that's everything, I think. I just forgot this step to convert the response to JSON.
Oh, so because you didn't convert it to JSON, it wasn't able to put the information on?
Yeah, all of these were then undefined because these weren't properties on the object I got back. Because the object I got back just had a readable stream that I hadn't read yet.
Oh, but then when you refreshed it, then it was able to read it.
Yeah, because when I refresh it, it reads it from this process, which does include that step.
Oh, I see.
Cool. I'll send you guys the repository if you want to mess around with this. It's got a solution branch.
Are we going to have this in our curriculum?
No. I think it's part of the in-person. Challenge. Okay. I'll send this to you guys. Thanks for coming. Sorry we're like way over time, but this was kind of a long one. Next week, project week, we'll have open office hours twice a day. So we didn't, in any of these study groups, talk too much about JavaScript with Rails. We did do some active model serializer stuff to be used with JavaScript, but then we didn't really use JavaScript with it. So we may spend some time in those office hours talking more about that if that's what people want. But whatever you guys want, I'll try to help out with anything. So thanks for coming, and I'll talk to you all later.